Welcome to the Re-Entry Archive, shouting joyfully into the world, a ketamine experience report taken from erowid.org. Setting: legal ketamine psychotherapy clinic. History: tons of social and generalized anxiety for 5 years, resulting in GI distress. Other drugs? No. No alcohol or cannabis for at least 1 week prior to the experience. Psychedelic experience? No. I was pretty nervous and did not sleep well the night before. Maybe 4 to 5 hours of good sleep. I followed the instructions to a T. Stopped eating and drinking 4 hours prior. Had a glass of water 2.5 hours prior. Spent some time after waking up doing progressive muscle relaxation meditations and other calming exercises. I arrived at the clinic and sat in a very calming, Zen-focused room before talking with the doctor. Their initial suggestion was for a 75mg IM injection. I suggested starting at 50, with a secondary dose on standby if I wanted it. I sat with the nurse and talked for several minutes, went over a few legal formalities, discussed my intentions, and got comfortable. My intentions were not firmly set, other than trust, let go, be open. I wanted to leave it open. I chose to lay on a couch with a weighted blanket partially covering me, a bolster under my knees and a pillow under my head. We did a small grounding exercise and then I was injected. It felt just like every other needle I've received in my life. I had a blindfold on, as well as some noise-cancelling headphones with a wonderful playlist. I was told to focus on my breathing, so I did just that and counted breaths. I slowly started to feel a tingling come over my body, vibrations as it made its way up my body. It gets fuzzy here, but I remember saying to myself, let go, and being a little concerned about how strange everything felt. I quickly lost count of my breaths, and then I was in. I kept questioning if I was actually tripping, until I finally realised I was experiencing something. I opened my eyes under the blindfold and couldn't tell the difference between my eyes being open and closed. I saw a vast star field and some strange shapes and colour distortion. There was little light coming in from the bottom of the mask, and it was pure white light hidden behind this black field that wanted to get in, but couldn't. Realising I was tripping, I tried raising my right arm, and it felt very sluggish and slightly disconnected from me, but I still had control. I remember smiling at this point and really letting go. The visual distortions never took shape, but they were the surface of the universe and a vague, vertical third eye right in the centre of my field of vision. I briefly glided over the surface of the universe. I remember mouthing the words, "Oh my God, this is amazing." I could feel my mouth moving, but it felt very disconnected. I felt euphoric. I was so overjoyed at everything. I had visions of myself leaving the clinic and shouting joyfully into the world, because I could feel what it was like to live without the constant burden of anxiety and stress on top of me. I haven't mentioned the music yet, but it was with me the whole time. I was in tune with the music. It felt so real and rose and fell and swam in my head with me. I could hear every little sound embedded in the track. I'd follow it around from left to right. It guided the experience very well. I remember being apart from myself and coaching myself, saying it was okay to let go. I tried bringing in negative thoughts into the experience. My father, some traumatic experiences, death. I intentionally tried to bring them in and think about it, but they didn't stick. They came and left, almost instantly. At some point, I recall being asked if I wanted a second shot. This would have been at the 15-minute mark. I declined because I felt wonderful. The interruption took me slightly out of the experience, but I quickly fell back in. I began to question if I should have taken the second shot, and these thoughts came and went until I asked for it. This was at the 30-minute mark. It was suggested that I not take it, as it wouldn't have had any effect by this point. I remember hearing gongs and bells in the audio track, and all I could think about was the Tsarist era Russia, like I was trying to live in a play during that time period. The reverberations of the bells really brought me back into the experience. After the bells, the track changed seamlessly, and I was into a new experience. It felt like I was just below the surface of a puddle of water, but I was the puddle. I started to think I might be able to change the experience. I started to think about how I was going to recollect this and report it back to people. My mind was caught up in the future. After this point, it was a little hazy. I slowly started to come back to my body and became more aware of physical sensations, but the music was still very strong and kept my intention inside. Eventually, I settled into a comfortable, semi-dreamlike state and got a tap on the shoulder that it had been over an hour and 20 minutes. I slowly came to and removed the blindfold. My muscles were a little stiff, and I was a little lightheaded, but still fully cognizant and capable of talking. I recounted my experience to the nurse, and then ate some snacks and drank some tea, and waited for my ride. I felt really, really good, and really calm. My ride and I went for lunch, and talked about it. I was dropped off at home, turned off the lights, crawled into bed, and listened to music for a couple of hours, and then took a nap. This is 9 hours post my experience right now, and I have noticed a few things. I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to watch TV. It's off, and it was easy to turn off. Usually, this is very challenging for me to do. Writing this was very easy. I sat down and put it all out there. Usually I would procrastinate and fixate on other things to avoid doing any work. My overall thoughts, this was a great experience, and I will likely complete the treatments. It was really strange to be aware of myself from another perspective, but still have some semblance of control over my state of mind and body. I was particularly expecting to be completely lost and having a religious conversation, but it wasn't as intense as that. No really deep insights into my psyche, and no big revelations. The traveller's intention going into this experience was broad, and this was sensible for their first experience with the substance. Intention setting is there to help guide the experience, not restrict it. However, I wonder if they were holding a secondary or subconscious intention while going into this experience. As soon as the experience begins, the traveller has a direct encounter with the shadow. There is a sense of dissociation as they pour through their past trauma, whilst the separated self watches on, encouraging the process. There is an acknowledgement that processing these traumas isn't sticking, perhaps suggesting that the self is not fully ready to encounter and integrate these elements of the shadow. Later, the traveller becomes a puddle, possibly symbolising the dissolution of the ego and the merging of the self with the natural world. However, even during the experience of being a puddle, the traveller was focused on how they were going to convey the experience to others. They admit they were fixated on the future and thereby not fully living in the present. In part, anxiety is a condition in which someone hyper-focuses on and worries about the infinite possibilities of the future. However, after the experience, the traveller found that they were able to avoid their usual procrastination and self-distraction techniques, and they were able to focus on living in the moment. This is a small but positive step towards living authentically.